Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. And now, here's your host, Randy Harris.
Welcome to WFPC Podcasting. This is only our second podcast, with a new one to be released weekly. However, if you've been around Pike County a while, this is WFPC 2.0. Back in the mid-1980s, we had a radio station, and because of economics, it was sold to a larger group in 1999. WFPC is what brought me from Evansville to Petersburg as the news director to gather news and information for the people of Pike County. Our goal with this podcast is the same: Pike County news and information. Back then, our signal reached neighboring counties. In 2025, with a new medium, we can reach neighboring counties and beyond. The world has changed since those early days of WFPC. Our neighbors have changed. Pike County has changed. People have changed. Roads have changed. And as you drive in on I-69 at exit 46, you notice this very modern-looking blue and white building. It is the Elmer Buchta Technology Center, which in part houses the Pike County Economic Development Corporation. Our guest today is the director of the EDC, and her task is to pull all of those moving parts together to help us adapt to some of this changing world, yet keep Pike County the great place and home that it is. Ashley, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Randy.
You're welcome.
It's good to be here.
As we drive into the Pike County exit on I-69, exit 46, we see this really unique, modern, classy building, and that is the Elmer Buchta Center.
That's right. That's right.
That is where your Economic Development Corporation and other things are housed.
Yep, that's our office.
Tell us about that building.
So we opened the tech center in March of 2021, and I have been here with Pike County Economic Development going on 10 years, but it took every bit of 6 years to get that building built. We've been working on that since I started. But we had a really great team of people. We were funded majority through the U.S. Economic Development Administration Coal Impacted Communities grant for $2 million. And then we had local fundraisers and donors, benefactors that fundraised over $515,000, and Elmer Buchta Jr. being our major benefactor for that. So very grateful for all of our investors that helped make that happen. And then we had a construction committee that oversaw everything. I joke, I compared it, it's like building a house with like 8 spouses. It was fun though. It was fun, and each person on the committee, they had their own role, their own, I guess, expertise. Everyone brought their own unique strength to the table to help oversee that section of the building, and it was a really, really good team effort.
It is an impressive building.
Thank you.
We sometimes within the family affectionately refer to it as the Lego building.
That's a cute name.
It's unique.
It's very unique. It's unique to Pike County, and that's what we wanted. We see the tech center really as the gateway into Pike County for visitors. So we want it to be eye-catching, and people take a second glance and want to stop by and learn more of what we're doing in the building, what Pike County Economic Development is doing, and ultimately we want it to be, it's that landing zone to introduce visitors, site selectors into the community.
You mentioned a whole program in that brief sentence. What does that building house? What all goes on in that building?
We do a lot. So we have 5 offices that are all leased. We also have co-work memberships and makerspace memberships, but we have a classroom, conference room. But our main goal with this facility is to be that hub for entrepreneurship. And Dylan Query is a great example of that. Now that he was there and still is there, but he's now going to have his own standalone building and office location.
Fabulous.
And it's perfect. It's perfect. So
it was an incubator to get him from startup.
At a low cost startup for entrepreneurs. And then eventually you want them to raise their shingle in the community.
Right.
And so it's perfect for that. But also we have partnerships with Ivy Tech and Vincent's University, and we have different programs available. We have a certified medical assistant program. We also have an adult basic education program that exists there with them. And then anytime we have looking at companies coming in, we would be helping upskill or accelerate programming or training for those folks to be able to do that work. So that's really important for us too, because we don't have any collegiate partner that's already here. So we're bridging that gap.
So when Vincennes University comes in, when Oakland City University comes in, what do they just have different programs that? We have
a couple different programs right now, but they want to work with us. And so we can tailor a program to something someone needs. But right now, programs we have is the Certified Medical Assistant Training Program. We've graduated about 6 different cohorts. And then we also have the Adult Basic Education Program. So someone that may not have graduated with a high school diploma, they can get that certification, maybe give them a boost in income as a result. And so hopefully that's a springboard to help them also. And then this summer we have STEM camps that are happening from 2nd grade on up through high school. So really good.
Define STEM.
Yes, science, technology, engineering, art. We have STEAM and math. So our younger kiddos in 2nd through 5th grade, they're going to have an art component too. But they're going to be doing all kinds of fun science experiments, but engaging with that engineering and math and coding, all of that cool stuff. But our high school one is really unique, and it's going on up. We're opening it up to college age students also, to where it's artificial intelligence, and Ivy Tech is coming in to teach that.
Wow.
So so if there is interest, we can sign anyone up for that too. So we're really excited. We just want to be where technology and different things are going. We want to be able to help skill up or offer those resources to the community.
Some people really embrace AI as the next wave.
Yeah.
I'm old school.
I know.
It scares me. What can it lead to? But it's coming,
right?
Whether we want it or not.
I don't know. I heard Mark Cuban was saying, if I was in high school, I'd just be researching everything to know about it because no one knows anything about it yet.
Right.
So we're just kind of giving some tools, some background, and yeah.
Great. Economic Development Commission.
Yeah.
And I've got a little history on it, but tell me what is going on with the EDC right now. Ashley, when we see each other, you're always moving 1,000,000 miles a minute. You're always busy. You're coordinating everything, pulling it together. I might drive past there and you're sweeping up the parking lot.
That's happened.
Yeah. I've seen it. What else going on with the EDC today?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So we are busy, but I think economic development, we're doing a lot of things, but we're being much more focused on the target industries that we want to focus on. So Pike County, we're an energy community, and we want to help all of our businesses that we have, but we also want to diversify our local economy also. So we have we've had a study that was completed through a grant process, but focusing on our 4 target industries beyond what we currently have. And so we see that being warehousing and logistics with where we are with I-69. That's a great industry sector for us to focus on, as well as food manufacturing. That's not going away. That's a sure thing. Data centers is another one. We have a great amount of electricity and water. Those are the main resources you need for that. And then also where we are in regards to the electric grid, with electric supply chain, anything that really touches the electric industry, that's another sweet spot for Pike County. And our workers know that work so well.
You have a lot of moving parts.
We do.
Back in the day, they referred to it as chasing smokestacks.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
But also with that, anytime we meet with site selectors or companies, the big question is, where's your workforce going to come from? And we always say we export more of our workforce than we retain in the community. So that's a big selling point for us, but also is trying to show that we have a growing population, that we have people that want to live here. And I love where we live. And so I know it's a great community. So we're trying to grow that through housing development. So we have a new subdivision that's in construction out by Hornady Park. After the long winter and the wet spring, they're finally putting water and sewer and roads in the ground again. So,
and of course, this happened to me 37 years ago. If I lived in a larger community and had the opportunity to get my family to a smaller community, it's a nice place to go home to.
I totally agree. I mean, I love to go experience the big city or even Evansville. I love to run to Evansville and shop and do whatever I need to do, take a Sam's Club run or whatever the case is. But I love to come back home. I love having that small community. It's just a great feeling. And we're a beach family. We love to go to the beach, but we always want to come back home.
My girls at home always know that at some point when we get into Pike County, I always say something like, it doesn't matter if it's 3 hours or a week, it's always good to get back home.
It is. Even a day trip for work to Indianapolis. I mean, it's fun to go to the city and experience the city, but I'm always like, let's go home.
Pike County has a lot to offer.
It does.
Back to your moving parts and being energy based. At least since the mid to late 60s, and having coal available for 100 years. Things have changed on us.
Yeah.
And we see our neighborhoods that are different, and we're into solar panels at this point. Your building is named the Elmer Buchta Center. I'm not sure if that's a junior or senior, but I loved Elmer Senior. I like Elmer Junior too, but I'm just saying, Elmer was a mover and shaker. Both of them were.
Yeah. They have the entrepreneurial spirit all the way.
Yep. And I'm sure they took some heat moving coal to the power plants back in the day. When that was happening, it disturbed neighborhoods. It changed the landscape. We got accustomed to that. Right now, and had they had Facebook or social media,
right,
might be a better term, social media back in that day, I'm sure it would have been all over social media about what are they doing in my neighborhood.
Right.
So
I can see that.
I'm sure you're hearing some of that. I'm not sure if you're that directly involved with it, but our landscape, our political, social environment has changed. Tell us what's going on with solar panels. Is there a part of this that we don't see yet as far as being a hub for better things to come out of this?
That's a great question. And this is a conversation I think that's going all across the community. But I think, try to gather my thoughts, I think it's really something to look at as I step back. So Pike County, we are a power generation community. We generate power. So we are going to play in this space with whatever the energy sector is doing. And I think that that's important for everyone to recognize first, no matter what the energy source is.
And they are trying to wean off of coal, of fossil fuels. We'd better be prepared with something to replace some of that tax base.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So whenever I've spoken to utilities, right now I think we're in this, what they've called 100-year paradigm shift in how the energy grid and everything's operating. and how they're turning on the different electrons and whether it's power plants or renewables or whatever the case is, how that's all working together across MISO, the grid. And so our electric grid for Pike County, and where all of our electrons go, MISO, our electric grid is basically from Minnesota down to the Gulf of Mexico. So there's so much to understand that we're all interconnected on the electric grid, and how we all play that pivotal role and how much power is coming from Pike County.
And that's why they're here, because
and that's
we've got
why
those
they're here.
Power lines.
And we just have this great interconnection to the grid. And thankfully, but I mean, that's been the lifeblood of the community, has been power generation and coal mining and the coal-fired power plants. And generational. I mean, generations of families have worked somehow in these coal mines and power plants and provided power. So that's key number one. But looking at solar today and the projects, I wanted to go through, how does it start? Because I think there's some confusion. So solar developers start and they go to the landowners, the private landowners, and they are negotiating these lease agreements to lease their land, right? But they have to get so much acreage from the lease and the land to identify a project area for a potential solar project to connect to the grid. So this is a private negotiation. The county has nothing to do with that piece of it. So the developer and the landowner are just talking back and forth until paper's signed.
So if enough of the neighbors, enough of the property owners in that neighborhood don't want it, it's not going to happen.
Right. But if enough of them do want it, then it's a viable project area to that solar developer.
And we have zoning within the city. We have zoning in Winslow. We have zoning at the interstate. The rest of the county has pretty well said, we don't want to be zoned.
Right.
We don't want you telling us what to do with our property.
Yeah.
And when in the city it's a little different, because your houses might be 20 feet from each other.
Exactly.
In the county, we generally have more space. 38% of Pike County has been coal mined. So you've got pretty big yards.
Right. That's true.
And we just have that rugged individualist attitude and mentality. We'll do it ourselves. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I like that attitude.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. And people, it's their property. They don't want to be told what to do with their property. And that's, we don't have zoning. So we don't have that vehicle to change that at all. It's a land use issue.
If enough of the neighbors say, we like that price that you're showing us,
yeah,
that's where it's going to go.
Yeah. So that's where the solar projects start. So if there is not enough neighbors that say yes to that solar developer, then it doesn't happen. But once they say yes and they're bought in, then there's a viable project. And they're doing different things on the grid. The company is separately, but after that, then they'll come and speak to the county commissioners. They always start with the county commissioners.
We've got our plan together.
Yes, they have their plan. Our project area may be however many acres, and we're going to supply however many megawatts of renewable energy. And they may have battery storage or they may not. So from there, the county's role is really trying to do whatever they can to protect the county's best interest at that point.
And the neighbors.
And the neighbors. So that's been a big thing, is that, and I think there was a misconception also, is on the setbacks. I've been a big advocate on setbacks, as well as the county commissioners and the county council folks. Everyone said we need setbacks. But because we don't have countywide zoning, there wasn't a lot of leverage. So in the first two, they did request for some tax phase-in of taxes. So that was our leverage. If you want tax phase-in, we need 300 foot of setbacks on those from non-participating homeowners from their homes. So that was negotiated, trying to do as much as we could. They were not, honestly, the norm is like 100-foot setbacks. So getting 300-foot setbacks in a non-zoned area, it was
significant.
We were really trying, really trying in those discussions. And then the third solar project with the Petersburg Energy Center, that's NextEra and AES. That one, they did not request any tax phase-in at all. So there was less leverage there, but it was 150 setbacks from those homeowners.
So give me some identification, some common references. NextEra takes up which area?
So NextEra, they are building the project in the Willisville area on 57.
All right. What is the Dutchtown area referred to?
That's called RATS 1 project, or the Heirloom project. They have a phase 2.
That's kind of borrowing the name from the old Hoosier Energy.
That's right, from the Frank Ratz Hoosier Energy generating station. Yep. But their company is Arevon, who is owning that project.
Okay.
So.
And are there others on the way or prospecting?
So the county, as you know, the county has approved 3 solar projects. And so the Petersburg Energy Center in Willisville, the RATS one in Dutchtown, and then the Crosstrack solar project, it's in Cato on 56, and that's with Invenergy. Okay. But they have not started construction. So.
And I know there's at least one other out there scouting around.
I've heard that, and but they have not presented anything to the county.
I don't think they have the neighbors yet.
Yeah. So, and it may not happen, But as far as that, I just wanted to also cover agreements, because this is a question that I've been asked, and so there's different agreements that are negotiated. And that's one is a decommissioning agreement. So one question that we get a lot is what happens if they go bankrupt, if these companies go bankrupt? The decommissioning agreement is to protect the county. So the company is paying into a restorative fund. So if something tragic like that happens, there is funding in place to actually take the solar panels out and restore that farm ground back to what it was before. But all of the projects have a decommissioning agreement that our commissioners, our council, they all want.
Our previous term was reclamation.
There you go. Yep. The other one is the road use agreement. The road use agreement, County Highway, as you can imagine, is very involved in those discussions on identifying roads that they are planning to use for construction. I think we've experienced some growing pains that they don't always use those roads. And if that's the case, not to speak for the elected officials, but I think they just want to know that so they can correct that with the construction companies, so that we do in the best interest of all parties that are here. So, and then there is the economic development agreement. That has nothing to do with my office, but that agreement, think of it like an insurance policy, is to make sure that these companies are paying their taxes, and that they are set up. The solar panels are a utility distributable project, and so it's similar to what happened with the power plant back in 2019, where they could redistribute their utility assets and take them out of Pike County. This agreement with the Economic Development Agreement has Indiana code in it where they can't do that with these. And I think that's important to know, that and I'm just heavily involved to make sure that there's certain boxes that are checked to make sure that we are doing everything we can to help protect the county in the future, so they are paying their taxes.
Ashley, we have the growing pains of solar. What are some of the benefits? What does this prepare us for?
So the solar projects, these industrial commercial projects, their assessed value is the main benefit. So it's assessed 4.5 times higher than agriculture. And the reason that's so important and the timing that this all happened, being Pike County is a coal community, of course, is that we've seen that downturn in the coal industry. But also looking back at 2019, the power plant had redistributed their utility assets, and Pike County lost about $120 million in assessed value. Nothing at our power plant changed at that time, but they just redistributed those assets. And that resulted in a 1.2 tax revenue loss to Pike County. So we all felt that pinch. So that was 2019. And then in 2020, of course, we had COVID. So the world had contracted.
Crashed.
Right. It was awful. So it seems like a nightmare. And then the following year, the power plant shut down Unit 1. And then a couple years later, they shut down Unit 2. So you continue
to... We also had Hoosier Energy in that
and
mix.
Hoosier Energy also closed and shuttered, dismantled. And so we've had so many assessed value deficits over the years. So whenever the solar project started to come and we realized the assessed valuation of solar 4.5 times higher, I think it's really important for Pike County's financial health. The solar panels are really a mechanism for us to make us whole and build that assessed value back.
It doesn't replace the assessed value, but it's something building toward that, is what you're telling me.
Right. We're just trying to make ourselves whole again to bring that back and that tax revenue.
Thanks for the information. I'm going to back up to something I kind of pushed you through because that was how the direction was going. But tell us about the housing project. When do we expect? You've got the infrastructure being put together right now. When are we going to see little homes put up there?
That's a good question. We're very excited. So as you know, we had a long winter. We've had a wet spring. So they are going to be pushing. Woo.
You said wet spring, it reminded me of mosquitoes.
Oh, I was like, yeah.
It's a joke.
So they're going to push through for construction, and they should be finished in late summer with everything they're doing for infrastructure and the roads. So homes should be starting late summer.
Wow.
So and we've had some folks that reached out about purchasing lots. So we're sending that information on. And
so are those going to be purchased individually and built by the individuals, or are the
primary home builder is Reinbrecht, but there is a certain about 10% that's set aside that anyone can go purchase a lot and select their own home builder.
How big are the lots?
So they're average about a half acre.
We're used to more than that here.
We are. I'm seeing, though, I think whether you're younger, you don't want as big of a yard to mow, it seems like.
When you're older, you don't want as much of a yard to mow.
And when you're older, you don't want it either. So
and you can fit plenty of swing sets on a half acre.
Yes. So that's good. And what I'm really excited about is that in this, whenever we were thinking about this site and layout for the subdivision, it's going to have its own like sidewalk into the park. So it's kind of like their backyard is the park. So and that's beautiful. You have the playgrounds, you have...
Yeah, you don't need swing sets.
Yeah. I mean, you can still have one, of course, but you have so much, and you have a beautiful lake. You have... my family loves the ducks. I don't know about you guys, but we love to go visit the ducks. I know we're not supposed to feed them. I don't feed them.
I need to hide some of those videos of Jenna and Jayla when they were little.
Yeah.
But going to reach out on something new. Tell us what the Buffalo Trace Trail Project is. I know that's something you're working on.
The Buffalo Trace Trail, wow. It's going to be a really great, I think it's going to be a transformative quality of life project. So it's called a multi-use trail. And I didn't know there was a definition difference. But essentially 2 bikes can pass on this trail and pass each other without one swerving off the path. So it's bigger than a traditional sidewalk. But it's going to connect the city park, Cornity Park, to Pride's Creek Park. And so it's going to be super great. But what's the better part is that we were awarded the Lilly Endowment Gift 8 grant for this. So a $5 million grant.
Wow.
To build and construct this project. And it's going on Illinois Street. And anyone that's driven on Illinois Street, whether you have Little League going on right now or whatever the case is, there's always pedestrians, like the people that may work at Amber Manor or the doctor's office, that they're walking on their lunch breaks, or people are walking in the evenings for exercise or running or whatever the case is. And it's not safe because there's semis. It's a really trafficked road. There's a lot of traffic.
It's a highway connector. It connects
Yes.
It connects 61 and 57.
Absolutely.
And it's built to state specs because of that.
Yes. And you have industrial users that are pulling and hauling off of there too. But whenever we were first going through this application process, I have a letter of support, and it's signed by all of the Illinois Street business owners.
Wow.
So they see the value in this project. And so anyways, I am very excited. We also have a fun little fun partner, and that's the Indiana University Center for Rural Engagement, because we are going to have some of our funding set aside to do some art along the way that's engaging. So we just had a survey for the public to let us know, what does the community mean to them, so we can add those sentiments along that public art along the trail. So Buffalo Trace, that's a historical for Petersburg with Main Street. So that's where the name comes from. But like, what else? So I'm waiting. We just closed it a week ago. So for our public input. So I'm excited to get their feedback and what ideas they have. But yeah, so we're working with those art students to help us figure out what to do, just to make it more fun and connect. And I'm really excited with Little League Park because, then we have also Gil Hodges, as you know. He's Petersburg boy.
There you go.
So fun.
The mayor has discussed this with me, and you and I haven't spoken much about it, but there has been application for a grant for a community center downtown. Is that going anywhere? Is that happening? Do we?
Yeah, so that application has been submitted for Ready 2.0. But yes, so the Petersburg Community Center, we have applied. AES has pledged $100,000 to this project also. The total project, it's over $3 million. But this project would include a large indoor space, up to 200 people.
Wow.
And then it would open up to the exterior to have an outdoor side where you could have live music. But it's very versatile. It's a versatile space. So you could move the farmer's market there if you wanted to. You could have food trucks, lights. Very family friendly, I think. I think it'll be a really nice facility to have, because we don't have anything like that here right now. But so we have applied for Ready 2.0. We have not heard. I think the timing with the administration changes with Governor Braun, I think he's just getting a grip on all of the existing programs that are still have funding set aside for them. And it was approved in the budget for Ready 2. So hopefully we'll hear something soon, but we have not heard anything for sure yet.
Ashley, we mentioned the term earlier, chasing smokestacks, and that was a term used in the 50s and 60s and maybe a little bit beyond that. And again, we were a perfect location for coal mines. I've had older friends who are no longer with us have told me about their family would have their own personal coal mine in the backyard where they would go out and dig out little pieces of coal and sell it and use it.
Oh, really?
Because we have we have been blessed.
Yeah, we
with
have the
natural resources here.
Yes.
And we have another natural resource That is the river.
And we have
the
water.
East Fork and the
Yes.
West Fork.
A lot of communities don't have water. We have water.
So, and I'm sure there were some politics involved. There were some key political players that were able to promote Pike County at that time and get those power plants here.
Right.
What's site selection like today?
Site selection, it's much different from back then, and I think folks just think I can pick up the phone and call Google and say, "Hey Google, let's build something today," or Walmart, let's build a distribution center here. I wish it was that simple. I really do. It's not. So the way site selection's working, I may get a project lead or a prospect lead from an actual site selector, or it may come from the state of Indiana. And their department, Indiana Economic Development Corporation, may send them to us too. But you have to submit, they ask you for a request for proposals. And so you have to submit your site information with a submission letter. You have to be very detailed in what utilities we have, whether it's electric, water, natural gas, wastewater, fiber. Fiber is very important also because we have to be connected, right? So we have to submit our best site with our utility information. And you have to be very precise. And they want to know cost. They want to know the cost of the kilowatt an hour. They want to know the cost of how many gallons of water they can get per day. So we're working with our utilities very closely. No project is the same. So we have to, every new project, we're going back and forth. But we're in a really great position because the city of Petersburg has invested probably over $50 million today to get their new water treatment facility ready, and their wastewater treatment facility, their new water storage tank that you can see from I-69. Like, all of these things are golden when you're trying to do site selection.
Build it and they will come.
Yes, that is right.
You've got to be
Field of
prepared.
dreams.
Yep.
Yeah. But you have to have that level of infrastructure in place for any site selector or company to take you as a serious site location. So, so that's something. And then we have to be a pro-business community. So our elected officials have been very pro-business. And so we have to continue that trend. But I think now too, the questions that we're getting, they also want to know workforce. They also want to know school information, school ratings, and how we had a site visit, and they brought in so many folks, but they wanted to make sure that their senior engineering team, that they had enough housing available for them to relocate here with their families, and their kids were going to go to good schools. So it's not just, do we have the infrastructure in the ground? It's an all-inclusive package. They're looking at us holistically. And so my favorite part of my job is the site visits, because I love to showcase what we are, because we are just this beautiful community with so much to offer. And that's my favorite part of it.
We are blessed to have you in this position, and here's why. And of course, I was an outsider when I came here, but and the community embraced me. Mm-hmm. But I had to embrace them,
right,
and appreciate what we are.
Right.
You are unique in that most of the people in like positions to you are brought in from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I've been involved in the development of this corporation since its beginning.
Yeah.
We have a local girl. We have Ashley Poland, now Ashley Poland Willis.
Yep.
You grew up here. We watched you grow up. We watched you go through the pageants in Pike Central and on to college. Give us and marry a local boy.
Yep.
Who has a business in town.
Yeah.
Give us a little more than that. Give us a little history on who you are.
Yep, I'm Pike Central grad, and I am a local girl. Graduated in 2008, and both my husband Tom and I, we both went to University of Southern Indiana. Graduated and came back home. Got married. It'll be almost 12 years, and we have three Smart, witty, challenging, can be stubborn. They get that from their dad, I'm sure, not me. I'm not.
But these are all three girls.
All three girls. And
So Tom lives with 4 girls.
yeah.
Wow.
He's a lucky man.
He's one more than me.
He's a lucky man, isn't he?
We are all blessed.
So, but no, and I think my reason to get up every day to do what I do, it's not just for the job. I think it's because we're building something. And it's not just me. It's a we, because I can't do this by myself. It's the board, it's the elected officials, it's our business stakeholders, that we're all building this community, this economic development that's bigger than us, but it's for the next generation. It's to bring my girls back home one day after they go get whatever degree or whatever training they're going to get. And I want there to be I want there to be so many opportunities for them to come back to work, to live, to raise their families.
If they choose to do that.
If they choose to. I hope so. I want them to, but I want to make it as attractive as possible for everyone's kids and grandkids. The Lilly Scholarship, I always talk about how amazing that is. I'm like, I wish there's some incentive to say, come back and work here locally for a few years because it's just so, that's some of your top talent that they're getting these great degrees, and I want to bring them back. But I want them to realize and remember, because I think everyone has this idea, I want to get out and experience new things, spread my wings and do that. But remember your roots and come back, because you're welcome and we want you to come back.
And a lot of that started developing as far back as when the family's farm started breaking up, and then you had the 40s and World War II, and a lot of them didn't come back.
Right.
And they would take that GI Bill, go to college, and had other opportunities.
Yeah.
But we want them back home.
We do.
If they choose to come home.
Yeah. But we want there to be a place for them to come home. And I think that's been the big hurdle, I think, on housing, is that we haven't had new homes or new subdivision built. I mean, I'm in over 35 years. This is the first one.
I was going to say late 80s.
Yeah. So I think, just that, knowing that there's not a place for them to come back home to unless they're willing to build or renovate, or it's more of it's a lucky chance that there's a house that fits their need that's for sale at that time. There's not a lot of homes on the market. You know that. We're talking to the expert on that one.
Well, Ashley, we are so glad that you're passionate about Pike County. We know you love it. You have a hard job.
You don't make everyone happy.
It can be challenging, yeah. I'm sure. And we appreciate what you're trying to do for the betterment of the people of Pike County.
Thank you, Randy. And I appreciate all your support. You're on the council. You see a lot. You're doing a lot. This podcast, I think it's another outlet to get information out to the public. And I think that's what we need. So I just want to say thank you for doing this and having me today.
You're too kind. You're welcome. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for joining us for this program of WFPC Podcasting. The program is brought to you by Harris Real Estate and Petersburg Car Wash. Please like the podcast and share with your friends so more people can hear about this project. You may find WFPC Podcasting on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your favorite media. Join us next week. Our scheduled guest is the director of the Pike County Chamber of Commerce, Jill Heineman, and she's going to explain to us how the Chamber is helping make Pike County an even better place to do business and call home. Thanks, and see you next week.
Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. From back roads to town centers, we bring you the voices, stories, and news that shape our community. Join us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Pike County, Indiana. Tune in next week for the next episode of WFPC Podcasting.